So, the WRU are introducing yet another shake-up to the Welsh Rugby pyramid. Will this idea work, or is it doomed to fail, just like the rest of their other shake-ups? Let's have a look and find out. Now, this idea comes as the men's under-20 side struggled in this year's Six Nations, losing every single game, which obviously is not acceptable. The WRU hopes that these changes will offer greater opportunities to academy and Welsh age grade players. So what exactly is the plan? Let's dig into the details and have a look. So, the men's top domestic competition will be replaced and the number of teams will be reduced from 13 to 10 from the 2024-25 season. The plan is to reduce the amount of teams to increase the standard of competition as well as competition for places. Additionally, the competition will be ring-fenced for 3 seasons with no promotion or relegation. Now, the idea behind this is that without the threat of relegation, teams will be incentivized to play younger players and give them time in meaningful games rather than young players just sitting on the bench in Premiership clubs and only getting 10 minutes at the end while the veteran players are playing the bulk of games, which obviously makes sense. They also intend to spread the 10 teams evenly between the 4 Welsh regions, taking 2 teams per region. For example, Cardiff region may select Cardiff RFC and Pontypridd, or the Dragons would pick Newport or Ebervale. You get the picture. The other 2 spots will be filled by RGC, as representation from the north is obviously very important, and another club that meets the criteria that the WRU set out. But what that criteria is exactly has yet to be clarified, and apparently the application process is open to any of the 13 teams in the Indigo Welsh Premiership. So we still need a little bit of clarification on that one. But regardless of all that, the 2023-24 campaign, which kicked off on the 2nd of September, will still see the 13 teams play in the Indigo Premiership. Underneath that, the Admiral Championship will be split into 2 divisions of 12 clubs, split east and west. And then finishing it all off, the plan for lower down the Admiral National League, all divisions below the Championship east and west will be potentially reduced from 12 teams to 10. Now, the reason of this is to reduce the amount of games played in a season to lower the amount of games cancelled on any given Saturday. How that works or makes sense, I'm not too sure, but that's the reasons they gave. Right, now that was a lot of information, and the information coming out is changing on a regular basis, but for now, that's how it stands. So, what do I think of these changes? In theory, it's a good idea. As has pretty much always been the issue since the regional framework has come in, the gap between the semi-pro level and the regions has been a vast one. And, as said earlier, the under-20s failing to win a single game in their Six Nations shows that the young players' development path is just not right and we're getting left behind as a nation. So if this competition leads to more young players playing in proper competitive games and gaining that much needed experience, then I'm all for it. The problem begins is when you look at it running alongside the rest of the Welsh pyramid. Wales has a proud tradition with lots of storied rugby clubs with rich histories, and the fact that this competition is only going to be 10 clubs possibly runs the risk of alienating some of these clubs that aren't going to meet the criteria. Adding to that is the financial struggles that the WRU finds themselves in. Is this competition going to be financially viable? Are people going to turn out to watch these games? I don't have the answers. I mean, in theory, if the standard is good, then yes. But with it being ring-fenced, you run the risk of getting to the second half of the season with only like 3 or 4 teams having anything to play for. And I don't know if that brings excitement to the crowd or not. What do you guys think? Ultimately, if this competition increases the standard of play and enlarges the player pool in Wales, then I'm all for it. But it will be interesting to see once all the criteria is out what they're ultimately asking from these clubs. Maybe they could put in something like an age limit. I don't know if that would be a good addition, but then you could argue that having the senior players in the team helps bring those young players through, giving them their experience, showing them tricks of the trade, things like that. It's a real tough one for the WRU, and as someone who's played in the lower part of the pyramid for over the last 15 years, I've seen the changes come and go, and none of them have been particularly successful. All we can really hope for is that the new board of directors really gets this competition right, in so as it gets the benefits out that it needs for the young players, but doesn't push the amateur game further and further down the list of priorities. Because when all said and done, it's the community game where every player's journey starts. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.